dinner, which is really the first time we've had a dinner like this, and we're very grateful to have such an extensive Indian delegation at CERA Week and to have this deep engagement. So our thanks to all of you. You know, when the energy business around the world, sometimes you have the feeling that you have the opportunity to be involved in historic developments. And what we're seeing in India now is a historic development. After the Prime Minister Modi took office and the Honorable Minister took over the Petroleum and Natural Gas Ministry, we're seeing a series of reforms and changes in the energy system in India that I think 3 or 4 years ago people would have said would not be possible. And so I think we are really witnessing history in the making. Minister Pradhan has taken with great focus, concentration, and dedication the task of reforming the sector to meet the goal of supporting Prime Minister Modi's goal of an India that's growing at 8 or 9%, an India that has the slogan of Made in India, and the recognition that the oil and gas has to be made in India, not just under the ground, but has to be produced in order to support the growth rate that India is achieving and it aspires to in order to achieve its overall economic objectives. So a year ago at CERA Week, India launched its Discovered Small Fields initiative. And I think, Mr. Minister, you would say that the results were much more successful than would have been expected, perhaps at the beginning of it. And now India and the government of India is taking the occasion of CERA Week to launch the hydrocarbon exploration licensing policy, which is really going to mean an open acreage licensing. This is really a historic event. Will have enormous impact on India and potentially very significant for the global industry, because it really will finally continue this reform that will bring in the technology, the partnership, the investment that will be, and the know-how that will be very useful to the Indian industry and to India in terms of developing its oil and gas resources. So this really means opening up of the energy industry for India. It creates a new reality, a reality that wouldn't have been imagined 3 or 4 years ago. And so often what has to happen is thinking has to catch up with changes, and I think that's what we're seeing right now. And so I think this is a very important message to the global industry that you may have had experience in the past, preconceptions from the past, experiences from the past. You have to put them aside and look at India with fresh eyes as we see the kind of changes that are now going to happen. So, Honorable Minister, we congratulate you on what you've done. We know what hard work it has been by you and your colleagues, both on the technical side and in the political side, but it is a historic achievement, and I think everyone in this room wishes you well on it. So thank you for that. I think we should applaud the minister. Thank you. So I said we should look with fresh eyes at India, and I think now we're going to look with fresh eyes at the video. So thank you very much, everybody.
With a growth rate of over 7%, India is today the world's fastest growing large economy.
Let me invite you to be our partner in making a new India.
India has been ranked 3rd in the list of top prospective host economies for 2016 to 18 in the World Investment Report 2016 released by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. It has become the 6th largest manufacturing country in the world as per a UNIDO report. Already the 3rd largest global consumer of crude oil and petroleum products, India's energy consumption is expected to rise significantly, in tune with its growing economy. India is critically dependent on imports to meet its energy requirement. Prime Minister Modi has called for enhancing domestic production to reduce the energy import burden of the country by at least 10% by the year 2022. India is aggressively pursuing the yet-to-find hydrocarbons estimated to be over 100 billion barrels of oil and oil-equivalent gas in a basinal area stretching to more than 3.14 million square kilometers. This makes India
The second thing which will be unveiled is the OAL, Open Acre Licensing Policy process. I'm going to now invite the Honorable Minister to offer some remarks about the policy.
Good evening, friends. It's indeed my pleasure to be associated with the CERA Week. At the 36th edition of this premier annual international gathering, it is both exciting and important for me to be part of the constructive interaction with global energy leaders, government dignitaries, policymakers, and innovators attempting to tackle the most challenging situation in the energy domain. Today, we are present in the world's energy capital, a city that is recognized worldwide for its oil and gas industry. With the presence of major oil and gas companies, the CERA Week in the Houston serves as an ideal platform to bring out the role of technology and innovation as fundamental tools to growth in the energy space. India today has been growing at a rapid pace. India is the world's fastest growing larger economy. Our policies are focused on improving India's long-term economic and social prospects rather than on the short-term gains. Government of India under the able leadership of Prime Minister, dynamic Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, is attempting to transform India through a series of proactive and transformative policy reform such as Make in India, Digital India, Ease of Doing Business, Skill India, and Startup India. This initiative has nurtured healthy, sustainable, and profitable investment opportunities. Macroeconomic parameters are stable and healthy. Our efforts are already showing results. FDI in India was the highest level in 15-16 at a time when the global FDI has fallen. Energy is a key driver of economic growth. Sustainable, stable, and reliable energy is essential for the fruits of economic development to reach the bottom of the pyramid. This is evident from the scale of growth witnessed in the demand of oil and gas. Currently, India is the third largest consumer of oil in the world. Given the government's focus on increasing the share of manufacturing in the GDP to 25% from current about 16%, the energy demand is likely to see a sustainable growth in future. As per estimates, India is poised to account for 1/3 of the incremental global energy demand between 2013 and 2040 and is expected to consume more oil in 2040 than the whole Europe. Given the importance of energy in our lives, our Honorable Prime Minister emphasized the 4 pillars of energy, namely energy access, energy efficiency, energy sustainability, energy security. As part of our vision towards energy security, it may be noted that hydrocarbons will remain the most important source of energy for many years to come. Therefore, it is utmost important to unlock India's true hydrocarbon potential. Honorable Prime Minister has therefore set out a vision of 10% reduction in energy imports by 2022. So as to move towards a less import-dependent India, the policies in upstream sector are driven with this vision and target. Accordingly, we aim to boost the production of oil and gas in the next 5-6 years by twice as much. Regarding the evolution of E&P sector in India, the government in 1997-98 had introduced the new exploration licensing policy, which allowed 100% FDI investment through the production sharing contract. The ninth round of NELP resulted in around 236 oil and gas discoveries, some of which have come on production. However, we recognize that the policy and certain deficiency and challenges related to cost recovery, work program, operational, administrative, and regulatory inflexibility. This led to several litigations and non-productive activities. With the object to address these issues, a new policy framework has been brought in by the government and termed as the Hydrocarbon Exploration and Licensing Policy. The recently concluded Discovered Small Field bid round is a testimony to the acceptance of the oil and gas investor for the new policy framework introduced by government. The bid round witnessed a great interest level and participation from various private and international companies, largely new entrants in the E&P sector. A total of 134 bids were received for 34 contract areas from 47 companies. Finally, 31 contract areas were allocated to 22 companies, out of which 15 are newcomers to oil sector. Incorporating the learning of DSF, the Government of India has announced the help which aims to boosting the oil and gas production in India. Through the participation of domestic and international companies. Given the emphasis on transparency and fair play, which are hallmark of our government, help is a major step in this direction. To introduce help to this esteemed audience, I would like to highlight some of its key features. A single uniform license for exploration and development of both conventional and unconventional hydrocarbon prospects, such as CBM, shale gas, tight gas, to unlock the reserve potential in a seamless manner. A shift from earlier production sharing contract model to a simple and easy to administer revenue sharing contract model, with the aim of simplifying the operating regime and making it more transparent. Full freedom in pricing on crude oil and natural gas produced on arm's length sales basis. Full freedom in marketing, simplified fiscal regime with no levy of cess on crude oil, exemption of custom duty. Low-grade royalty rates, including zero royalty for deep water and ultra deep water during first 7 years. No restriction on exploration activities during the contract period. Open acreage licensing, which will permit E&P companies to carve out block of their choice and submit an expression of interest by accessing National Data Repository. Block would then be offered through biannual formal bidding mechanism. To supplement the new policy regime, government has set up National Data Repository with Halliburton. It hosts India's seismic, gravity of magnetic, well and petrophysical, cultural and spatial and production data at a single source, which is easily accessible online for use by potential investors. So far, 160 TB data has been loaded in India and is being continuously updated. India will permit seamless flow for data access, submission, retrieval and dissemination. Friends, we will launch the new bidding round with all documentation in July 2017. I invite you all to be part of WAL's one of the fastest growing and large hydrocarbon industry. I assure you full possible support from the government I look forward to your participation in the upcoming opportunities in health and becoming a part of the transformation of the energy sector in India. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. So I am going to start the conversation here with asking a few questions. And if you have any questions, we'll have some microphones. And also, if you would like to write a question on the question card, you can do as well. You just raise your card and one of my colleagues will pick it up and bring it to me. Okay. So, Honorable Minister, the policy you just announced, congratulations first of all on announcing the policy. When does the process start? Can a company access the data now? Can you say a little bit more about the process?
I think within few days, our India will be dedicated by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. I think by 1st of April, anytime anybody can see the India going through our data room, anybody can see the India. It will be available online.
And there will be more data added as more data becomes available.
As we committed, there will be continuous upgradation of data, and the new source, new data will pour in regularly.
What about the contracting regime? What will be? Can you say a bit more about what kind of contracts companies can expect in the health and OL policy?
I think, as we mentioned in our video, in our presentation, our DG also mentioned about that. Previously, India is going through the profit sharing model.
That's right.
Now, we have an experience of last 25 years. In our mechanism, we found some challenge, we found some difficulties, we found some litigation, unnecessary delay, micromanaged by government. We want to abolish all such bottlenecks. Now with the transparent mechanism, government committed to have minimum government and maximum governance. There's a major paradigm shift from profit sharing model to revenue sharing model. Government will not interfere in the micromanagement. Government will, it's up to the investor, it's up to the producer. Government's only concern safety and security, and how much revenue through a bidding mechanism the investor will share with government. That's the fiscal model in the health.
One of the questions people have asked is around the pricing regime. So oil price, of course, is linked to the international price, but the gas price in India domestically is a different price. We talked about that actually last night. So what is your sense, what kind of gas price companies can expect from this new policy?
Atul, a lot of water has been flown in Indian rivers, so we have moved out of this monitored mechanism. Yes, I do admit in the old profit sharing model, old PSC, there is a formula-driven price mechanism. It is said oil is an international commodity. There is a price band fixed price band for oil. But regarding gas, we want to augment our production. We will not interfere in price and marketing mechanism.
So whatever price a producer can get in the market?
Through market mechanism. Through a bidding process, through only suggestion will be arm's length distance should be there.
Yeah.
As in our presentation we have mentioned, there is more than this is a lot of area is yet to be bid out or explored. So there will be a minimum threshold. One block will be technical 330 square miles, and upper limit is open. So any bidder can going through the data.
If I am a private company, will I have access to the infrastructure? Because that's going to be critical to getting all of the hydrocarbons to market.
Lot of area will be new ground in this bidding ground. But let me assure you very candidly one thing, India is moving towards common facility network.
Yeah.
We appreciate this kind of highly capital intensive fiscal model. Would like to extend its helping hand.
So would you allow a private company to own infrastructure?
Oh yes.
Okay, you would
Yes.
allow that. Okay. Maybe I can ask Director General a question around the seismic. I noticed in your map that the 3D coverage is still quite limited, isn't it? Are you thinking about doing more seismic in the coming years?
So at 2 levels, we have about 0.6 million square kilometer of seismic. So if you see on the offshore side, there's a very substantial seismic coverage already. However, what from the government we are pushing is a national seismic survey program which is taking up unappraised area, where those areas, because almost 45% of the area, basin area of 3.2 million square kilometers is not yet appraised. So that we are covering with a 2D line survey. 3D is more or less left for after prospectivity is established for prospectors who are looking for either through a exploration and production license or a recon survey to take up 3D work, because that's more focused after
So companies could run their own seismic?
Absolutely. That would be part of the minimum work program also that they're likely to bid, or those who have already established a production base then wish to carry further, look for new prospects, look for new sands, and that's where they would be doing more 3D surveys or new kind of surveys which are coming in those days. And also as well as reprocess, and these days there's a lot of big data, machine learning, which is getting coupled with existing seismic data and giving wonderful results.
Thank you. So floor is open for questions. You can just raise your hand and microphone will appear, and I will, of course, get the questions from the question cards. So, okay, while you're thinking about it, a few questions now. First, this interesting one. What about one of the challenges in India has been land acquisition for oil and gas development? So will there be, what is your thinking on that? It's quite an interesting, important challenge, because land is a scarce commodity even though it's a large country.
Atul, you will appreciate in this kind of operation, land requirement, land acquisition requirement, lot of failure offshore. So there is no issue of land acquisition in the offshore area.
Absolutely.
In the onshore area, for oil exploration and oil production, the minimum land requirement is there. But now primarily the three major area belong Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat and Assam, and some part of northeastern state.
Yeah.
We don't see any major land acquisition issue in those states. They all are very progressive states, and both federal government and provincial government will extend all kind of support for the land acquisition process.
Mr. Chakrabarty, question for you around, will there be any early incentives if a company offers an expression of interest on April 1, as Honorable Minister said, will there be any incentives for early bidders to the program?
Honorable Minister, while unveiling the policy, had mentioned that the health policy, the way it's structured, does give those who give an expression of interest early incentive so that they are sort of encouraged to put in their bids. The structure of the incentive will come out very, very, very soon.
Okay, thank you. When you say very soon, in the next few weeks?
Yeah, because as soon as the NDR is unveiled, people would be accessing that. So it's in the work which is in final stages of progress.
Yeah. So, Honorable Minister, you talked about the model being revenue sharing model. There's a question as to will there be some incentives on technology? So if somebody brings in new technology as part of their entry, will there be some incentives to maybe both of you can answer that question.
I think we are here in vision to invite world-class technology, and we consciously choose CERA as our platform. So technology is our market size is itself an incentive.
Good. Okay. So the proximity to market, you think, is a very good incentive. Okay. Mr. Chakravarti, what about the question around, will there be some minimum program, minimum well program, or you mentioned seismic?
See, what will happen, this is a part of the bid process itself, because the kind of work that one has to take up would depend upon the kind of data that's available. So in
the companies will be able to specify a work program as part of
it's a function of the kind of data that is available, and accordingly to check the prospect, one would be deciding on the work program. So the work program is very much left to the choice of the bidder, who would choose after he has seen the data and then decides on the type of seismic work or the drilling work they'd like to do, and then specify the work program, which is a normal practice.
By the kind of there is a sliding down in E&P capex.
Yes.
So this kind of price and this kind of offer with a market link like India. So we're very enthusiastic and we're hopeful good amount of investment will come to our bidding round.
Do you have a comment on that? How are you doing on that?
Don't ask my Prime Minister's monitoring mechanism. He's hands-on, he's monitoring every month, he's very focused on our E&P activities, and every month there is monitoring at his level.
Thank you. So other questions from anybody? Yeah, please. And can you please stand up and introduce yourself also?
The structure that we had used for DSF, that this covered small field program, had a revenue cap and a revenue floor. The revenue floor for this was non-zero, about $0.01 million, and the revenue cap was $1 million per day. And there, between that, one is free to bid, because we don't want to restrict the choice of a bidder of the revenue share by saying that we'll not allow you to bid beyond a point or below a point, but an S-curve needs to be built in, as you'll appreciate that it's a requirement in any case. But that remains common for everybody. So those scenarios for revenue as well as production, which are built in for each bid, which are bid specific, are common to everybody, so that is an apple-to-apple comparison. So to that extent, whatever you wish to bid is your bidding behavior, and that one doesn't want to influence by setting up on percentage caps. Of course, on the absolute number, there's always which is an S-curve, there's always a floor and a cap.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a question there. Charlie, over here.
Charles Ebinger, the Atlantic Council. I was wondering if you could tell us what may be able to be done to accelerate land acquisition that will be needed for oil and gas pipelines, as hopefully oil and gas is found in abundance throughout India. And a quick second question is, how do you ensure investors, particularly who find natural gas, that they won't be forced to sell it in the domestic market at subsidized prices for fertilizer?
Let me, now in India, we have 15, let me explain about there is no issue on product pipeline or crude pipeline, but we want to create a gas grid in our country. In the western part,